Toronto's such a great wrestling city, going back to the 40s, through the days of the Sheik, and the 1980s and 90s, WrestleMania 6 and 18, oh wait, that was 2002, and now Tony Khan has returned with a 13-match card, title matches, blood feuds, and a bunch of weapons, oh my. He overdid it, the cleanup crew certainly had a hard time after TNT, tables and tacks, TNT, Death Riders attack, TNT, oh my, oh mo, TNT, show's booked by a chode. I'm John Wortham with my review of AEW All Out 2025 from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This is hours later after the show was done hours ago, and there's a reason for that. I worked. I wasn't going to take a half day to watch this show because if I had live tweeted this show and I had done a review right afterwards, I probably would have been banned for what I was going to say about some parts of the show. Now, I want to praise the crowd. The crowd was really goddamn electric, and provided that people don't have bolts of electricity shooting out their goddamn ears after that terrible AC/DC rendition, there were things I liked, there are things I'm going to praise, and there are things I'm going to knock. And if you think you know what I'm going to knock, you're probably right. You are probably right. So, the Tailgate Brawl, aka the 0 Hour, aka Collision, as Tony Schiavone called it. I have one question. Why is Matt Menard on commentary? This guy is terrible at commentary. He offers nothing but just sounding like a fucking nasty boy cosplayer on speed. It's like a Smurf with, less of a blue, hue to him. Anyway, Hobbs and Joe took on J.D. Drake and Anthony Henry, the Workhorsemen. They ain't bad. J.D. Drake isn't bad for a big guy. Anthony Henry looks good. And you know what? The match was serviceable. It really shouldn't have been part of a pay-per-view pre-show. But it was over in a few minutes. Can't fault that. And the crowd loved Joe and Hobbs. And then Shibata against Daniel Garcia. I'm instituting a new rule from now on, the Death Riders rule. You include anybody involved in the Death Riders, and I instantly just skip over the match. This Death Rider stuff has needed to end for months. The fact that they are still trying with Garcia after 4 years, it is not going to work. It is never going to work with this guy, and Shibata was there to basically no-sell a pile driver. Shafir then tried to interfere, but did it badly because Shafir cannot do anything right. Oh, she defended the Defy Women's Championship in Seattle the previous night. Congratulations. Go wrestle in front of 500 people because that's the audience that she can play to. She can't play to a worldwide audience because she's not any good. Garcia won with a goofy stomp. Hologram, O'Reilly, and Strong took on the Frat House. Okay, I'm all for people getting a paycheck, and there are tough times in this world. And I'm glad that Tony Khan is able to fund AEW as long as he wants, him and his dad. I'm glad that it's profitable as far as the media rights and as far as pay-per-views doing well. And sometimes, pay-per-view crowds like this, they had around 12 to 13,000 people in a 20,000 seat hockey arena. That's good. And he pays people well. Why is he paying so many people to do stupid gimmicks like this? Griff Garrison is still there. Nothing against Griff Garrison as a person, but this frat house stuff. I thought that Chase U was terrible. Anyway, Griff lost to a stomp. Wasn't the leader of the frat house, didn't he make like some kind of comment about the Uvalde shooting? Didn't he? Wasn't it like something that he said? I forget the exact phrase, but he said something like one of the last times they appeared when they were in Texas. And yeah, that guy, that roided up junkie probably needs to, be slapped for it. So anyway, Sky, Julia, who had sin on their tops, and everybody in this match refused to wear pants, except Mina Shirakawa in the sense that she had tearaway pants. But anyway, it's Sky, Julia, Megan Bayne, and Penelope Ford. So it was 3 and Ford. I'm sorry, Penelope Ford is not any good. Against Mina Shirakawa, Willow Nightingale, who really should be in the title picture. I mean, I'm all for Willow working with her friends. I'm sure she gets along with these people. Come on. And, Queen Aminata that they're still trying with. I don't know if it's going to work. And Harley Cameron. It's a tailgate brawl. I saw what they did on Collision. It wasn't for me. They seemed to have fun, but it wasn't for me. This match wasn't necessarily for me either. Willow got the biggest pop, I think, out of everybody in this. At one point, the faces ripped their shirts off. Keep going. And, yeah, multiple person spots, and they were using barbecue stuff. They were really grilling each other. Smile, let me see your grill. Bet you didn't expect that song to be referenced. Why a staple gun? Why? When is a staple gun used at a tailgate? And there's a BBQ spot, and Ford got folded up with a powerbomb 1, 2, 3. That's it for the pre-show. Opening package on the money matches, and I will say this: they have a good production team, and they can put stuff together. And they really did try with the video packages here to catch people up. I'll give them that. I also want to say before I get going into the main card, no, I did not watch WrestlePalooza. I'm not paying extra for WWE's, time on ESPN. Except for maybe the occasional one of the big four if I feel like it. But to be quite honest, I can get more material out of AEW pay-per-views. But I'm going to give my status on reviewing AEW. I'll give it now. I'm going to go to 1 million views. I have a little bit to go, and then I'm going to revisit how often I'm going to review AEW. That goes for the TV, that goes for the pay-per-views. This will be the last year that I do any, I do any form of like best, worst matches and wrestlers and stuff like that. Because after that, I'm so burned out on so much modern wrestling that I might just review older stuff like TV tapings and stuff like that. But anyway, that being said, let's get to the main goddamn show. Danielson's on commentary. He gets a big pop. Cope and Cage, they're backstage talking about the Maple Leafs and some hockey player. I don't know who he is. I don't know anything about the Maple Leafs. I know they haven't won a championship in a while because I'll get to that. And then there was some guy, Bubbles, this comedian, that guy with the Coke bottle glasses. I don't get it. So the major sing-along for Copeland. That was nice. And the CNC, Nostalgia Factory, a.k.a. Copeland and Cage, took on FTR with Stokely. I didn't know you could sneak children over the border. Okay, the crowd is up for it, and FTR played perfect heels. There were parts of this match I liked, and actually, I gave it a fairly favorable rating as far as my star ratings for what those are worth, because I'm just a fan. But it started slow. FTR were doing great, cutting off Christian from getting the tag, drawing Copeland over so Christian could try a tag. Copeland couldn't get back in time. There were elements of a good tag match here. And there was a huge pop when Copeland did the whole "you can't see me" thing and did the AA. After that, big Cena chant at an AEW show. How cool is that? It is a shame during, his last year as an active wrestler, there couldn't just be a working agreement, just have John Cena work one AEW pay-per-view. I mean, I know it's impossible, just pure fantasy booking. I wouldn't mind seeing him against, fucking Swerve. That would be kind of cool. Shame he couldn't work Ospreay. I know it won't happen. I'm just saying it would be kind of cool. But that was nice. Hero pop for Cena. And Stokely does end up helping, get them out of the double sharpshooters by, putting the apron skirt closer. And then we got the Power and Glory, Power Plex. That was nice. And then basically the referee got pulled out by Stokely when it looked like Copeland and Cage were going to get the victory. Then suddenly music plays for a while. And then Beth pops up on the graphic. And it's Beth Phoenix, or Beth Copeland. And big pop for Beth. And you know what? Good. I was wondering where the fuck she's been. I mean, it's a shame WWE didn't want to use her much. That whole thing with Copeland or Edge and Beth against Miz and Maurice was terrible, in my opinion. It was nice for them to get to team up, but that's really about it. She hits a spear on him and carries Stokely away. I'm trying to find a woman to treat me like that. And a spear for 2. This is where the match started to stall. If they went right to the finish there, it would have been fine. But the problem is, they kept going. They had the crowd, and then they kept going. That's going to be a recurring theme with this particular thing. And by the way, this show, the main show, went 5 hours. Or just under 5 hours. which means it cut into the first hour of WrestlePalooza, which that's fair because why not? I don't care. They just ended up stalling. Like, they should have gone right to the finish is my point. Christian hits the announcer's desk. They hit Copeland with the ring bell. See, if they had done this kind of stuff and then they had gotten a hope spot and Stokely pulled out the ref, Beth had gotten him, carried him off, and then they had gone to the finish, that might have been better. But we got 2 impalers and then a spike pile driver, but no, that didn't do it. A shatter machine didn't do it. And eventually a spear, 1, 2, 3. So, there we go. Beth is back out to celebrate. And here's Nick Wayne in a wheelchair being pushed by Shayna Wayne, who, good grief, missed Shayna Wayne with respect. Glad Nick was able to make it up there, just a shame he's in a wheelchair. And then Kip helps FTR attack Copeland and Cage. And they handcuff Copeland while they take out Cage. And then Beth is like, I can't get you out. I love you. I could get out of the ring and get the referee to help, but I love you. She starts hitting both FTR, and then they hit her with a spike pile driver. Pile driver damn near killed her. I know what they were trying for, and I don't mind the idea of FTR taking a bit of time off. I think Dax is going to need some time off for his broken nose. If it's not broken, then bless him. I mean, it looked pretty bad. But they had good elements here. They probably should have gone to the finish sooner. And then a huge pop for Eddie Kingston. And he beat Big Bill after wearing a Claudio Sucks Eggs shirt. I don't really have much for this. I don't care if it's a camera angle or not. It didn't look like that back fist really connected. Like, it's like, But that being said, Eddie won. Fine. I don't think Eddie's going to be able to do any more than this, so I'm glad he's back after having his leg, broken in a few places. All right. And then Brian Keith, who's also there, he won the Defy Championship last night, Saturday night as this is being recorded. I'm recording this, Friday night, and I'm recording this late Saturday. Good Lord. Good for Brian. I mean, I don't care, because I'm not going to go to a Defy show until I can actually get the time off to go. Because I haven't been to a Defy show since just before the pandemic. But suddenly, Hook shows up and helps Kingston. All right. Now, I want to say something really quickly. I did end up being able to see MJF versus Mystico from the 92nd anniversary, this show the CMLO put on, by being able to acquire a link from somebody. I will say that much. Not that I didn't want to pay for the show, I just didn't have time to watch it, so I did watch it during a slow, a few slow parts at my work. And it was very good. Good show, great atmosphere, crowd was into it, Mystico winning was nice, really great crowd energy, and honestly one of the best matches of the fucking year. Really good stuff. And then MJF gets golden showers for his entrance and the white collar wind shirt. Given the current climate, I don't know if we should do that, but whatever. So, all right. Let's just fucking... How do you think I fucking felt about this match? I knew that it was going to involve thumbtacks. Fine. It's one thing I wish that Mick Foley had never introduced in a Hell in a Cell. I'm not saying he's the only person to use tacks, but whatever. But there were buckets of tacks around the ring, in the corners. Here's the thing. If you had a bag of tacks and done 2 spots, fine. 4 buckets that were fairly full, come on. The referee had sleeves and goggles and stuff like that. And yes, you want to protect people. But these tacks were going to go all over the place. I'm amazed that people in the crowd didn't get these embedded in their foreheads and stuff like that. MJF versus Briscoe in a tables and tacks match. And look, I'm sorry, no. If I hate it involving people that I don't like, I'm going to especially hate it involving people I do like. MJF is one of the few bright spots that they have, but they have pretty much done everything they can to nullify that. Mark Briscoe is one of the few people that's still over, despite the fact they booked him like shit for a while. And the buckets were spilled all over the ring by Briscoe within the first little bit. And yes, they built the drama of not wanting to go in the tax. And yeah, you don't want to go in the fucking tax. But then they just kept doing stupid spots. And they were doing stuff like putting the tax in the mouth and swinging and rolling around in the goddamn tax. Because they want to make these two that are legit stars look like fucking idiots. Look like fucking guys that work deathmatch shows for 20 fucking bucks. And deathmatch wrestling ain't real fucking wrestling. If you got a problem with that, that's my opinion. And I'm going to stick with it. But eating the tax. Attack chair. Why? Just why? I don't mind them blowing off this feud here. But come on. I wrote down I regret saying that MJF can be the future of wrestling. If they're going to do shit like this to him, he ain't gonna have enough, like of a aura or a presence about him. It's all going to be just turned to shit. He will never end up being what he can be or what he once was. If they keep doing shit like this, and Briscoe should not be doing stuff like this. These guys are better than that. We got an elbow through a table full of tacks, and then the J Driller eventually. 1, 2, 3. Dog shit. Not the worst thing on this show. That's later. But god damn it, they had that kill time while the crew, bless the crew, it took them only a few minutes to clean that up, but damn it. One bag of tacks would have worked. I don't care if everybody bleeds out on this goddamn show, that's their business, but that ain't wrestling. Why are they trying to reunite the Acclaimed? The Hurt Syndicate took on Rico Gates, aka The Demand. Well, I demand the Ricochet be less bald and more interesting. A TV match broke out on this pay-per-view. I know what they were trying to do. There were some cool spots, such as MVP being isolated, Shelton and Lashley continuing to defy Father Time, and Shelton with a double German. Ricochet dove on everybody at one point. That was nice. And MVP got pinned. It made sense because they're trying to build up this, the demand of agony group. But it is what it is. So let's go to Mercedes versus Riho. Are you fucking serious? Why? Why did they have to remind us, by the way, that this stupid little dope-faced stick bug was the first ever women's champion? Nyla Rose should have been the first champion. Or Shida. Anybody that actually is a fucking legit wrestler and not whatever Riho pretends to be. Because Riho may be a nice person. She may save puppies from a goddamn high building. I don't give a shit. She is an unbelievably awful wrestler. 16 minutes for her versus Mercedes. 16 minutes. This Mercedes experiment has been an abomination, by the way. Not anything to do with her work, but the on-character stuff is terrible. And this whole belt collector thing is terrible. She will probably lose at Wrestle Dream because then she'll be the longest reigning TBS champion, but they are going to need to really try hard to get the stink, the stench, and the just smell of death and decay off of that title. 16 minutes. This would have been 4 stars if Mercedes had beaten her in 5. Beat her with her, gotten the statement maker, shoved a middle finger in her fucking face, beat her, wiped her feet on her, and then left. Riho better not ever be fucking featured in a goddamn prominent program again. I don't care if she's such a lovely fluffer. She shouldn't be there. There are certain places that talents work. Riho does not work on American television. People like her? Great. You can like her. Go watch TJPW or whatever she works for. Like, where's Shida? Where's Nyla Rose? Why is Willow being featured in an 8-woman brawl that's meaningless? You could have Willow beat Mercedes here, or have Willow beat Mercedes at Wrestle Dream and actually bring prestige back to the TBS Championship. Something. Okada versus Takeshita versus Mascara Dorada. Mascara Dorada, whatever. Unified 3-way match. My favorite match of the night. Next to the main event. Actually, my favorite match of the night. The crowd was into this. They want to see Take beat Okada for the title, and he should. Quickly, I'd go 10 minutes. But Okada actually was putting in work for once. He's put in work at like 2 other matches. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't care how diminished he is. If he's getting paid a shitload of money, he should put in more effort. Take should be getting paid what Okada's getting paid, because he's actually good. And Okada was good. Keyword was. So it's a spot fest, but what a spot fest it was. There was a very cool double Rana to both guys. That was impressive. I did worry about Takeshi laying on his shoulder on a destroyer. There was a nice wheelbarrow suplex by Takeshita. There was then a tombstone by Okada a bit later. There's Fight Forever chants. I hate those. And the DDT on the apron. Why? I mean, credit to Okada, he sort of took the bump. Superplex. And then Raging Fire. And then Take got taken out with a drop kick. He hit the ropes back of his neck. I hope he's all right. And then suddenly, Rainmaker on Dorada, 1, 2, 3. So there you are. That's pretty much it for any of the positives, because it ain't going to be very positive from now on. You know why? Because it's Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. I knew that I wasn't going to probably care for some of this. I knew how it was going to go, and I said they're going to start with a brawl, they're going to go to the ring eventually, and they're going to break out some weapons that they don't really need to, but Jon Moxley refuses to actually put on any kind of actual basic match because he can't fucking wrestle or doesn't want to fucking wrestle anymore. And Darby is bound and determined to just keep damaging himself until he can't move anymore. And then the Death Riders are going to show up and everybody's going to groan because they're going to say again, oh, that's exactly what fucking happened in this match. Jon Moxley needs to go away for a year. They need to get rid of the Death Riders. And I'm going to get into a little bit more of this stuff, but my God. Jon Moxley can't bump for shit. Darby keeps bumping like crazy. Bumped on the steps because I don't know why. There was a coffin drop, from the balcony area or whatever the fuck it was. I'd say Marina should have been part of it, but Marina probably would have found a way to, somehow not sell that because she can't sell shit. Dumb broad. I probably should be nicer to her because I'm sure she's nice, but she's not any fucking good at this. And her and Strong can have their wholesome moments at home, away from a wrestling program. You got to the ring in 5 minutes. This thing took 20 minutes, and it felt like 50. So, there was a dive where both men ended up in the coffin. Moxley's ear was bleeding. And then Shafir couldn't figure out how to undo the goddamn bottom turnbuckle. Just stop. Just don't do shit you don't know how to do. Just fucking leave. Fucking leave. You goddamn stupid bitch. And if that offends you guys, I don't care. If you're a Shafir fan, if you're one of the 5 people that actually cares about this idiot, then good for you. And Yuta shows up. There's fuck you Yuta chants. And I was just waiting for Brian just somebody get this waste of worthless fucking space. Get his parents to just basically, be forced to say, hey, get your son out of here or we're just going to basically beat him in matches. We're just going to continue to beat him and you're going to see what a waste of space your goddamn son is. They should be arrested for bringing this goddamn piece of shit into this world. And he may be a nice guy, but the fact that he is allowed to plague this goddamn program is ridiculous. Ole versus everyone, Bischoff versus Flair, Brett versus Bill Goldberg, Savage versus Hogan, me versus the Death Riders. I will live long enough to watch the Death Riders fall, but it's not coming soon enough. And I may just have to watch it from afar because if they keep doing this shit, if they will not change course, and Tony Khan has proven that he will not change course on this stuff, the fact is Jon Moxley is somehow worse after he lost the title. He was terrible with the title. And there was a pipe used. And a goddamn fork being used. And there was a plastic bag. Like the plastic bag thing that they did to... when Yuta turned on Bryan, then they did it again at Wrestle Dream. And you know what? We booed it then. And they have not been back in any kind of prominent venue since then. They were in Kent, Washington for 2 TV tapings. They shouldn't bring a pay-per-view back. Until they end this Death Rider stuff and they pivot and they make a better television program top to bottom, they should not be allowed in certain states. I'm serious. Set up residencies and just hope that you don't burn your fan base out. But they are going to burn people out with this goddamn bullshit, especially Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta is the biggest blight that I have seen of anybody that they have fucking pushed. Why is it? What does he have? What evidence does he have on Tony Khan? Oh, Brian likes him? Brian's from fucking Aberdeen, and nobody smart has ever come out of Aberdeen. And Jon Moxley, are we convinced that Dick the Boozer actually is clean? Because you can't actually be of sound mind and body and think that Wheeler Yuta should be worth this TV time. He's never gonna be over. Except hopefully over a barrel over Niagara Falls. It's the same bullshit. Just this goddamn abomination of a gimmick. It was ridiculous. Pac is back with really stupid hair. What the fuck? Moxley won. And that makes what happened later even stupider. And the Death Riders, for the love of God, Tony, just end it. Just end it. Just end it, you stupid little coke binging dweeb. God. Allegedly. So anyway, Briscoe and other people are backstage. Harley, I don't know what's going on with Harley. And Orange Cassidy's coming back. I have even less reason to care about Dynamite now. Timeless Tony Storm versus Tekla. Tekla versus Statlander versus Hayter. 4-way women's title match, and then Yuta comes back out here. And they didn't send a fucking moose to just charge at him and just get him out of there. I would have trusted a moose, by the way, to take a better bump than Shafir or Yuta or Garcia. And a moose could cut a better promo, and a moose can't even talk. Whoever came up with the Death Riders stuff, I hope they have the worst holiday season. The absolute worst. So, just stop this Yuta stuff. So, there was international strapping between all these women. I saw that in the movie before. By mistake, of course. Tekla with the spider plexes off those ropes. That was nice. Good stuff. She was pretty over. And then we got a 3-way leg trap at one point where, well, actually, Tekla was double-legging them. And then a tombstone outside, the Saturday Night's Fever. And then Tekla almost got the victory, but alas, no. The seatbelt, which is Yuta's finish, got the victory. And Statlander is now the champion, and great. And if they make Statlander join the Death Riders, that's it. You just might as well send the women's division home. Everything the Death Riders touch dies. And the more that Tony refuses to realize that, the more he's going to burn people out. That's why he can get really good crowds for his pay-per-views and not so much for his TV. So, Harley celebrates with Stat, while Tony maybe will be taking a break. No, seriously, hopefully Tony Storm takes a break. She could get in a good feud. I wouldn't mind seeing her versus Tekla. I think that could be good. It would certainly be a better feud than what Tekla and Amanada have. Bandito versus Jet Speed versus the Bucky Ruse, a.k.a. Matt and Nix, a.k.a. Nick, and a.k.a. the Hanson Boys, versus Josh Alexander and Hitchero. 4-way tag title ladder match. All these bumps in a match that nobody's going to remember by Wednesday. Bandito won. Brodito won. Jet Knight went through a couple, Jet Knight went through a couple tables, and the Bucks are sullen, and then Jack Perry shows up, and then Rocky Romero shows up, and then there's a beatdown, and the Bucks are going to hit the trigger, and then suddenly the lights go out, and then we see the digging up of a grave, the dragging of a coffin, and the whole monster Frankenstein thing was Jack Perry reviving Luchasaurus. Guess Jack Perry went and became a doctor in the year that he's been gone. Actually, it's been about 8 months, but I digress. And we get a double choke slam, and then suddenly they hug, and Tarzan Boy plays, and oh boy, oh. Good. You're trying to go back to something that had been played out well before. You can't keep going back to the well, the nostalgia well, whatever it is, regardless of what company you are, because then you're going to poison the well. They got to go forward, not backwards. Upwards, not forwards. and instead of twirling, whirling towards the coke pile, allegedly. So, backstage, Moxley basically tells his crew, oh yeah, this coffin's crushed and everything's okay, so go ahead and leave. They don't trust Shafir to ride in the front seat. Maybe because they're afraid that she's going to hang her head out the window, so they just put her in the back. And then he's just talking about Darby. And then suddenly Darby, who's seemingly been there for like close to an hour, is just suddenly pops out with the pipe and just starts hitting him. Was he taking a fucking nap? And then he beats Moxley and then brings the body bag out that he was put in, puts him in the body bag, puts some flammable stuff on him and sets it on fire. Why didn't Darby win the match and then do that? This whole thing is backwards. Like, this isn't any good. This does nothing for Darby. It just makes him look like a fool. He lost his match to Dick the Boozer that is absolutely just the poison pill of this promotion now that Jericho's gone. Moxley does not need to be there anymore. If Moxley left for 6 months, would he be missed? Not by a lot of people. But yeah, he set him on fire. This feud's going to continue. Just why? Just what? Why? Why? What have we as fans done to deserve this? Hangman and Fletcher had an AEW World Title match. Look, if the Callis family interfered, Kyle would lose the the TNT Championship. Have him win the TBS title. He'd put more prestige on it than Mercedes. Look, there was good action in this. There was. But after the stupid ladder match, the body bag fire, the fact they won't give up on the Death Riders, Riho existing, Yuta still plaguing this goddamn world, and Shafir thinking that she's actually worth any television time. Yeah, this match was what it was, and it was well done, but it was after all this bullshit. All this constant bullshit. So, they fought for a while. There was a table spot. Then, we got a brainbuster through a table. Another one in the ring for 2. A deadeye through a table. We got the big pressure. Swerve's move used by Hangman. 1-2 kick out. Another brainbuster for 2, kicking out of everything, exposed buckle to Page, and then Kyle hit the exposed buckle, super deadeye, and then the buckshot 1-2-3. Honestly, a pretty good main event. Well worked. They had Kyle stand on his own. It probably went 10 minutes longer than it needed to go. I don't know if it needed to go 38 goddamn minutes. But a good way to end the show. But the problem is they had so much bullshit in it, and they won't end the fucking Death Riders. Until Tony Khan does that, until he admits he can't do this, then, at least on his own, he can't do this on his own, then stuff like this is going to keep dragging the show back down. End Mercedes' title reign, end the Death Riders, and pivot on a lot of this stuff. Do a hard reset. If they don't do a hard fucking reset at World's End, into 2026, they're going to burn out a lot more of their fan base, which has dwindled significantly. That being said, there were some good moments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rittland. Until I join for Dynamite again against my better judgment, happy trails to you.